Hey, Voices from the Bench community, Jennifer Ferguson from Ivoclar here with a quick shout out to all PrograMill PM7 users and those thinking about joining the club. On July 1st, we launched the Ivoclar block module that's powered by intelligent automation that optimizes toolpaths and saves you serious time. I'm talking up to 45% faster milling. You want to know what the best part is? You can try it for free for 90 days. No pressure, no commitment. Do you want in? All you have to do is shoot us a message on Instagram at ivoclar.na, or you can email me at jennifer.ferguson@ivoclar.com, and we'll get you set up.
Welcome to Voices from the Bench, a dental laboratory podcast. Send us an email at info@voicesfromthebench.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Greetings and welcome to episode 380 of Voices from the Bench. My name is Elvis.
We are at 380.
380. Isn't that crazy?
I'm not sure they have a clue how hard it is, but you're the one, so talk to me.
Well, we're actually recording this on a United States national holiday, July 4th, or as we like to change it up, the 4th of July.
I've got sparklers!
You have sparklers?
I've got sparklers. The one thing that I want everybody to know is that I love sparklers. So I bought them, and I'm going to act like a cheerleader, and I'm going to go rah, rah, shush, goomba, happy 4th of July, and look like an idiot. There you go.
How's that different than any other day minus the sparklers?
I have sparklers! That's exactly why. What about you?
I mean, I don't have sparklers, and I'm not nearly as excited as you are, but we might go downtown, Indy, and see the fireworks. We're not sure.
Fantastic.
We kind of play it by ear.
Good for you, too.
Yeah. If we end up getting too tired, we might not. You know, we're old. What do they shoot it over the water there? Or?
Oh, it's all over here, but we are going to grill and chill and watch movies and do sparklers.
Nice.
I'm old. I'm too old to go down and deal with all that traffic. I can see them from my house, so yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not that girl.
You are the firework, is what I'm hearing.
It sounds like I am today. Thank you for the compliment.
Absolutely. So it was a couple episodes ago we talked to Brandy and Mary Beth.
Yes.
But we want to remind everyone to go ahead and make your arrangements, register, book your room, book your flights, whatever it takes for the NOLA Lab Fest that's happening November 7th and the 8th in New Orleans.
New Orleans.
So why are we talking about this show that's still 4.5 months away? Well, I honestly think they're going to sell out, and soon.
And we love Nowak.
Yes.
And Brandy and Sean and Mary Beth.
And everything that they're doing.
Yeah.
So don't fool yourselves. Don't wait until it happens and you're all upset and sad. So head over to NOLA Lab Fest, NOLA labfest.com. Get all those details. And of course, Barb and I, we're going to be there. We're going to be recording the podcast with the wonderful and amazing people of Aidite.
Thank you, Aidite.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So register, book, go to the Aidite booth, and be on the podcast.
Or if you don't, I'll come grab you.
There you go. Barb will find you. Mm-hmm. Or you might come against your will. That's how she works.
And that's okay, too. You'll like it.
So this week we are, of course, still bringing you some of the amazing conversations we got while in the exocad booth at IDS 2024.
God, it seems like so long ago, Elvis.
It's so weird we're still doing this. And we're not even halfway done.
I know.
But let's just take a moment and say how thankful we are still of exocad, how they supported us in the podcast, and they invited us to go to IDS and made us feel welcome in their, I'm going to call it a little village, but we keep calling it a booth.
It was literally a little town, honestly. It was unbelievable. And the people were amazing. They brought us water. They brought us coffee. They checked on us. Unbelievable.
Yeah, great group of people. But this episode, we're going to feature two Americans that we met in Germany, because we like to travel thousands of miles to talk to two people from here in the States. But first up is Barb's boss, the CEO.
What is boss?
Well,
like, where'd you come up with boss?
I imagine you have a couple layers of bosses, and we talk to the CEO. I don't know, but I imagine he's your boss.
He is my boss.
John Krier, the CEO of Leixir Dental Lab Group. So John followed Barb all the way to the IDS to make sure that when she requested time off, it was actually doing a dental show and she wasn't on some beach relaxing.
I don't think so. John had a very, very, very full itinerary.
I bet.
Just saying.
He only started 18 months ago and jumped into being the CEO. And John talks about coming from the orthopedic world, how it differs from dental labs, coming on board and visiting all 8 labs, and even going to India in this first 18 months, which is nuts to me.
Yeah, he's amazing.
And how he's changing the culture of 1,000 employees to empower them to do better.
Yeah, you know me. I'm not like, that girl, but he's amazing. Mm-hmm. So I hate to sound like I'm sucking up to him because I'm not, but he's that good. So.
I know you're not, because even off mic, you don't talk bad about it, so...
Right on. So next up is fellow podcaster and dentist, Dr. Jeff Horowitz. I have a Dr. Jason Horowitz, who I'm really tight with. So Jeff is one part of the podcast called Dentist in the Know. It was created because during the pandemic, they wanted a way to share information, and they were also kind of bored. Offices shut down. What else are they going to do? So Dr. Horowitz talks about why he comes to the Disneyland of dental, what subjects they talk about on their podcast, and his two practices, with one being general dentistry and one being airway and sleep. That's pretty freaking straight across the board, guys. So we get in deep with him all about dental sleep treatment for adults. So join us as we chat with John Krier and Dr. Jeff Horowitz.
Voices from the bench. The interview.
So, IDS 2025 at the exocad booth. Someone Barb knows.
Yes.
What are you so popular here in Germany?
Thank you very much.
Who do we have?
John Krier. CEO of Leixir.
Whoa, the CEO.
National.
Nice.
Worldwide.
So we just talked
honored
to someone.
to be here.
We just talked to the guy running the design center.
Dr. Manish Chabra came on. Yeah.
So do you get to go to India?
I go probably every 3 months.
Do you really?
The talent there, the people there are amazing, and it's fantastic.
Wow. How does someone end up being the CEO of Leixir?
Bingo.
Yeah. So
tell us about your journey. So you're from the orthopedic industry. And then now you're in the dental manufacturing worldwide.
Like leg braces?
Like, what's it like?
Yeah, leg braces, implants, all of the above. I think, the good thing about it is orthopedics, we help people get back to mobility and sports and life. Maybe I just want to pick up my grandkids. Maybe I want to play weekend warrior, sports, whatever it is.
Yep.
In dentistry, same concept. We want to help people smile.
Yeah.
Right?
Eat
we want to
again.
get their energy
Chew
back,
again.
whatever it might be. So different industries in that way, but we're helping people. And that's the common thread for me is we're helping people.
Yep.
Interesting. So what happened? What did you just say? I want to look at teeth now? Or how does this happen?
That's awesome.
My first exposure to the dental industry is obviously being in the chair, right? So if you would have said to me, hey, 5 years, 10 years ago, all of a sudden I'm working in this beautiful industry that they call dental, I would have said I'm not seeing it because.
Did you even know the lab side existed?
So nobody knows we exist.
I
That's
know.
a really great point.
It was flat out. In fact, when I was considering joining Leixir and thinking about dental and learning, where's the first place I went? I went to my dentist.
And you'd be like, have you heard of Leixir?
Yeah.
And he goes, who?
But that's my first thing. I'm like, Doc, tell me about your labs. So he starts telling me about their labs. Do you have a scanner? No, I don't have a scanner. Why don't you have a scanner?
Interesting.
And it just unlocked, and frankly, I think I screwed up his whole patient schedule for the day.
Because you kept asking him questions.
And he was so generous with me that he gave me the time to do it. But, man, I learned so much, and then I just started talking to more and more people and learn a little bit more every day. But I had no idea about the dental lab space. I had no idea how important the dental lab space is to the dentist's success, is to the practice success.
Yeah.
And, in fact, I would say, I don't know, I'll just make up a number, 99% of the patients have no idea how integral the lab is to the success of the practice.
Sure. Yeah. They have no idea.
Yeah.
My favorite saying is, my favorite times when I asked my dad, what implant did you get? He had no idea. I'm like, how do you not know? I would want to know. He doesn't get.
But
doesn't
people
know,
don't
doesn't
think
care.
that way.
He
Like
doesn't
they
care.
don't ask those questions.
It's no different than orthopedics, though.
Right.
If you talk to anybody you know that has a total knee, a total hip, and you ask them 10, 15, 20 years ago, well, what manufacturer do you have? No chance they know.
True.
Where did it come from?
No chance they know. Today, it's a little more. Today, you hear some patients ask because maybe they see some advertisement, they see something.
Bingo.
But it is still very, very small. I would have never thought, even being in the dental, what kind of implant do you have?
Yeah.
Where was it? Like, it's just, that's not the case.
Who made your crown?
So I got to ask, what's it like being, so my whole career I've wanted to come to this meeting, right? I had no idea how exceptionally large it was. We knew it was big, but like, how do you even find your way around? What are you looking at? Like, I know you're meeting with a ton of people, but are you looking at some of the implants and some of the chairs and some of the AI? And
well, I was fortunate, right? I mean, obviously I have people like yourself. I have people like Norm Weinstock and Zahn Dental.
He called me yesterday.
Yeah, I called Norm and I say, Norm, this is a big event.
Have you been to Chicago and stuff?
I have been to Chicago twice. This
It's
is my
not
first
even
time
close.
here. It's
Us
totally
too.
different.
Us
In
too.
orthopedics, we have shows like AAOS in the U.S., American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, which would be like Chicago. And then we have something called Medica here in Germany every other year, very similar to IDS.
Interesting.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why that exists, and I now have all these questions about, it's the same person running both, and they're just having a good time running the shows.
That's a great point.
But Norm was incredibly helpful for me. I'm really meeting with a lot of our key partners and suppliers. I also have a number of our customers coming over from the States. We're spending time together because it's a great way for me to say, okay, what are you looking at for technology for your organizations, and how should we be thinking about that down the road? And then I'm just trying not to get lost. Let's be honest.
No
Between
doubt.
all these halls,
it's nuts.
it's pretty difficult.
But I think the connection to being a really great CEO and running a company like that is being a visionary. You've got to be 5 years ahead of everybody else. So you've got to be asking all the right questions. Like you said, you went and talked to your dentist when you got into it. So all due respect about that. But I'm telling you what, go ahead.
No,
You're looking at me like you want to ask a question.
No, I'm just kind of curious in the world of orthopedics, because you probably saw the manufacturing side of that.
Yeah.
What about the lab manufacturing side? That's got to be quite different.
And did you ever see it, or were you?
You did. I mean, what you see in orthopedics, I'll talk about orthopedic bracing, for example. So implants were all driven by the manufacturers, and the orthopedic implant manufacturers produced their own, and they had their own rep base that produced it and provided it right to the practices. So the concept of labs don't exist in that realm. In orthopedic bracing, they do. They're called orthotic and prosthetic shops. And over time, that got really, the off-the-shelf bracing and things like that took over because it got so streamlined, and that took on an entirely different role. So I think that's where the similarities end between the two. I think the lab space is so much different because of it's not just a product that goes in the body and it just works perfectly. There's so many other components.
All unique.
Yeah, it's
Like
all.
How many different sizes of knees are there?
That's right. So
I don't know.
There are some custom orthopedic devices and things like that, but it's very small compared to, quote unquote, the sized options that are available.
Like if I need to replace a knee, they're not making a knee especially for me.
They've got your sizes there. They've done their imaging the day before. They know exactly what they're doing before they open you up.
And they just pull it off the shelf rather than custom make it for that.
Very
Interesting.
different. Very different.
Wow. Yeah. It's got to be harder on the lab side.
I think it is
Manufacturing-wise?
because their workflow's different. Every dentist is different, and you're trying to manage their workflows and trying to help them. I think that, by the way, is where I've seen the lab technicians do their greatest work.
Yeah.
Is that they really are an extension of the dentist to help them solve the cases that are there. Barb and I talk about this a lot. I think, look, there's no surprise we have a shortage of dental technicians in the industry, and so the biggest thing for us is, for me as a leader, is how do I for better words, clone the Barbs of the world, clone the Bill Grills of the world.
We don't need any more Barbs.
We need a lot more Barbs.
I got one, and that's
yeah. So we need Barb's knowledge, because what she is a gift to dentists, just like all the other lab technicians are.
Sure.
And if I could just figure out a way to harness that to spread that knowledge, that's what our dentists need. That's what they're really struggling with, and that would be phenomenal.
Yeah. So when you came into Leixir, how long ago?
15 months.
15 months?
Not long.
Yes.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
You act like that's like a long sentence, like a prison sentence, Barb. Like
There's a lot to learn in 15 months.
But no, seriously, I didn't realize all this came. 15 months ago. And how many labs are 5?
We're up to 8.
Yeah.
8.
Yeah.
Have you been to every one in 15 months?
I have been to every one. I was fortunate to get to all of them within the first 90 days. That was my goal.
90 days.
I wanted to feel and see and touch everybody, and I'll tell you, the talent we have it just blows me away every day. And my challenge is feeding opportunities to the whole team and continuing to give us ways to grow.
To me, that scope is just beyond what I can even comprehend. That many labs and that many people. And are you based out of Knight?
Yeah, so Tampa, Florida, Knight, Oldsmere is our U.S. headquarters. And then we have facilities even in India and in Gurgaon outside of Delhi. So, but Knight in the U.S., that is our world headquarters. And so that's why I get to run into Barb pretty often.
Yeah.
And I know the podcast listeners have heard me say the change in the culture that the whole company's been and that John's brought to the company.
Oh, that's this guy.
Yes.
Oh. She does speak very highly of that.
Yeah, and I think that taking that on in itself to make the whole company, and there's over 900.
Over 1,000.
To make them feel special and to make them want to be accountable and want to be better. And want to function better mentally and make better decisions. It's called above the line, below the line. When you're below the line, you're not making your best decisions, and you're not for the company. Not you're kind of like, I'm gonna lay back a little bit and not really say something, but this is what I think. And he's teaching the whole company to think better, think sharper, want to be leaders, want to get involved, want to have feedback, want to listen to the feedback. And when you give the feedback, there's somebody saying, all right, I just heard you. And that, for me, I'm getting goosebumps, has been a game changer for the whole company.
Yeah.
Myself personally.
Oh, I know you've spoken a lot about
that's
it.
That's a huge endeavor. You're talking a lot of people going through a lot of training.
How do you do that?
Okay.
Sounds easy.
We don't have enough time.
Actively manage the culture. Yeah. It's a choice, right? And I'll just bring this to day-to-day life.
Yeah.
I think the best technicians that I've come across do not let a dentist or a case fail, for better for worse. If they see something wrong with it, they act. Yeah. They call the doc. They let him know, him or her know what they feel, and they will not let that case go out without a successful ending. That to me is just a small example of what our culture is all about in terms of being above the line. We're going to see the problem, we're going to own it, we're going to solve it, we're going to do it. And the opposite is when you go, look, that's the dentist's fault, that is not my problem. They have no idea what they're doing. I'm going to leave this to the side. That's below the line behavior. Mm-hmm. And so what we want to do is take that above the line behavior of just we are going to see the problem, we're going to solve it, and bring it to everything we do, whether it's a case, whether it's interactions with teammates, whether it's sourcing, whatever it is. We try to bring that mindset to
because a lot of the time, in my mind, 1,000 employees, you're just churning out work and you don't have time to call. But you guys find the time.
Oh, I'm texting doctors at IDS.
I know you are, but you empower everyone to do that.
That's
stop the case.
That's the goal.
Let's make the call. Wow.
That's the goal. But I think it's incumbent upon me as a leader to make sure that we resource the organization to be able to do that. We give people the freedom to do that. We don't slap their hands when they maybe get one less case done because they took that extra time to solve it. So there's a lot that goes into it. It's not easy. We talk about cultures of muscles, so if you don't work at it, it goes away, just like in your daily life. So you have to work at this. It's not perfect. It's messy. But, I appreciate hearing Barb's words, and I've seen the organization continue to embrace it, and over time we'll continue to get better and better.
Yeah.
I told John the hardest part for me was accepting feedback because it was never a word that I ever heard. And I brought that to the podcast as well and say, I hear feedback now on a lot of our guests are talking about culture and feedback, but sometimes it stings a little bit And people need to learn how to process it and not see it as a negative.
Yeah.
And actually learn and say, there's something to that I need to change.
But some of the feedback is positive, right?
I didn't like it, but I really like it now.
It is. And a lot of type A people, a lot of really hard chargers, they don't even want the good feedback, right? Just tell me what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah, yeah,
And you're like, come on, man. Like,
so take a compliment.
So we try to work on that. But I think I had a CFO of a large group call me. I was May of last year. And he said, John, if I could fire you, I would. That was his opening line.
Wow.
And because we were messing up.
Nice to talk to you, too.
Yeah, we were messing up. But, because we train on this and I'm classically trained in it, my first reaction was, thank you for the feedback. Can you tell me more? What exactly were we letting you down? And it opens up an entire constructive conversation.
You have to have a mentality to stop someone saying that to you and not go, you crazy, just be like, that's just
outside of maybe family where I think it's totally different dynamics that are involved. It's just business. It's just work. It's not personal. He doesn't dislike me more than I dislike him.
But you're in an industry where we all take it very personally.
Yeah.
I did.
And
but I mean, our work is like, even if people are making single posterior crowns, some of them are very like, this is right, and you can't tell me any other way. That's got to be difficult with 1,000 people.
And that's what we're working on.
Yeah.
We don't want to lose that love and that edge for creating amazing work.
Yeah.
But we want to take the personal, like, I'm being let down out of it and just say, okay, what exactly did I miss the mark on? Or even like we talk about with maybe some teammates that aren't putting out their best work, of just being able to say, hey, look, I've seen your best work. This isn't it. What's going on?
Yeah.
Is there something I can help you with? Because it's not, nobody shows up for work, whether you're a dental technician, whether you're me in my job, and says, man, I'm going to do a poor job today.
Yeah.
I roll into the parking lot.
It's a 10% day.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like, I'm mailing it in. Let's see who calls me out on it. That's just,
that's not who we are.
That's not who we are, right?
Yeah. No, technicians aren't. They always give 100 plus.
So if you just have that mindset of figuring out, okay, how do I unlock that talent? How do I unlock that capability? Life's a lot easier.
That's fascinating.
And you got to figure out how to take the emotion out of it, because technicians are extremely emotional.
Yeah.
And that's just how we roll. We're artists. That's the way we think. And it takes practice. Like John said, it's a muscle.
We get stuck
and
in our
you
ways.
literally have to. Yeah, we do. And so it's been great for me. Everybody, all my teammates, the whole lab where I'm based out of, it's just like night and day. Sincerely. And I'm not just saying it because John's on the podcast. I sincerely mean it. And I've said it many times. Yeah.
And it's not perfect. I mean, not everybody, it's not for everybody right away. It takes time. But I do think over time, people genuinely want to work in a culture of positivity and continuous improvement.
Have you lost some people over this?
Not over the culture,
Not over the
directly.
culture.
I mean, I think, there may be people that aren't as actively engaged in it, in terms of providing feedback. But what I've seen over time is they'll come.
Yeah.
They'll come along because they enjoy the byproduct of it, which is a better environment to work in.
Yeah. Do you consider yourself a dental lab lifer now?
I have been very much clear with everybody that have told me, once you're in dental, you are not allowed to leave. and it's not because you want to leave. It's because you just find the people so amazing. And I will say, from the other leaders of the labs in the industry, have all welcomed me in.
Oh, you've met with them.
And I've been,
that's
they let me
great.
tour their facilities.
That's
I've been able
awesome.
to ask questions.
Wait a minute. Within
Glidewell,
14
Oregon,
months,
you're
14
talking,
months,
yes.
You've been to 9
Lot
of
of
your own
work.
labs. India. In
Oregon.
other labs?
Oregon,
You've been to
Glidewell.
Yeah, they've been all great.
Yeah.
They've been all great.
And he's just sucking it all in, all this knowledge.
I just want to learn from everybody,
Yeah.
and I think the industry is a learning industry.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think what I've seen from the technicians around the industry, what I've seen from the leaders around the industry, look, there's a lot of dentists and there's a lot of players.
Yeah.
There's a lot of room for everybody to grow, and I think people are genuinely trying to lift each other up. I've been the benefactor of that, and I that's one of the things about the dental industry I will say is unique from others.
Mm-hmm.
It is very encouraging, welcoming, and creative.
That's awesome.
And we talk about that a lot, how open we are.
Oh.
Like we go to Cal Lab and people are sharing what's making them
This is the only reason this
successful.
podcast
And we're like,
exists.
and we don't like attack each other. And yet we are competitors, but we help each other. So it's
There's enough work to go around,
Yeah.
trust me.
Totally.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, welcome to the industry.
Thank you.
Soon you'll be as crazy as the rest of us. We'll give you a little bit
I have a great mentor in Barb on that, apparently on that.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
She's one end of the spectrum.
We've got it covered.
Yeah. John, thank you so much. What a great story.
Wonderful.
Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Honored to be
that was
here.
good luck working with Barb.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you,
for having me.
Yeah,
really appreciate
it's
it.
awesome. And it's Horowitz, not Horowitz. That's what he is
It
about.
is Horowitz?
No, I have an O.
Oh, so his is Horowitz.
So
it's the
I
same
think in the
deal.
old country, that's what it was. It was actually Horvitz, but there's all kinds of
It got
different
changed
spellings.
6
times on
exactly.
the way over.
So that's what he complains about, is that they call him Horowitz and it's Horowitz. So
but
everybody's got their
right,
you know.
and there's enough people that call me Horwitz too.
Horwitz.
So, yeah,
that's easier to say.
I think that's the actual because we went to Israel, and so there are a lot of old gravestones there, and all of them said Horwitz.
Nice.
And actually, I was there with my rabbi, and the rabbi was pointing these out. And he said, I don't know how he knew. He said, well, he's from the Levite tribe. You're a Levite. This was probably your people here. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
That would have been fascinating.
Yeah, it was really
and
interesting.
emotional, too.
Yeah.
All right,
Awesome.
so IDS. No, IDS. I almost forgot where I was.
It's the first interview of the day.
IDS 2025, day 3.
Yeah,
I think
it's Thursday.
I have no idea.
I'm feeling a lot better today.
Good
just
for
saying.
Barb. We're here at the exocad booth, and Beth, our good exocad American friend, brought over Dr. Jeff Horowitz.
Done very nicely. Yes, you got it.
It's a first.
Boom.
Just
yeah,
saying.
I don't even know her name right. But she says you're a podcaster, dentist in the know. I know this from Facebook. Tell me about it. I mean, wait, let's start. Why are you here? Why are you? Because you're from America.
You're from America.
Yeah. I'm a dentist, and this is Disneyland.
Yes, it is.
No doubt.
This is just the best of the best. You get to see all the things we're not going to even get for 5 to 10 years.
Isn't that nuts?
It is. It's really a neat thing.
You're in North Carolina, right?
I'm in South Carolina.
Same difference.
In the Myrtle Beach area.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Everybody says that. Charleston is the nice part of South Carolina.
I don't know. I hear Myrtle Beach, and I hear it's nice.
Listen, we have some beautiful parts of the Myrtle Beach area, too. But Charleston is really the gem of South Carolina.
Nice.
Yeah.
So is this your first IDS?
No, this is actually my third.
Oh.
Yeah.
You love coming here.
I really do.
I don't know how many American dentists make this trip.
They said less this year than most other years, and I don't know
Really?
why. Yeah, somebody was telling me that there are much fewer American dentists this time.
Fewer. Interesting. I wonder if I'm sure they have a breakdown of the countries that show up. I wonder how many Americans show up.
They do.
But yeah, so dentist in the know is just something. So again, I'm here because I'm a dentist. I'm a nerd. I like to see the technology. I like to learn continuously.
Is your practice full of technology? I mean, do you have it all?
Yes.
And you are practicing, right?
Yes.
You do the podcast and you practice full time?
I practice. I have a general practice, and I also have a TMJ and sleep practice as well. Yeah, I'm supposed to be slowing down, but I'm going in the exact opposite direction.
So TMJ, what's the difference between the practices? Are they in the same building, or are they
They're actually in the same building.
Okay.
The sleep and TMJ practice is strictly focused on people with jaw joint issues and airway issues, sleep apnea, that kind of thing. So really that one is more of a medical
I would
practice,
say so.
and we're not doing any real clinical dentistry.
Well, you're saving lives, that's for sure.
That
sleep
I'm
apnea
pretty
is
passionate
scary.
about
How'd you get into it?
So it's funny, when I moved to South Carolina, there was only one pediatric dentist and one orthodontist in the entire county. So at an early point in my career, I started learning how to do orthodontics and
kids.
Right, and how to treat children. And what was really cool about this was, number one, I was forced to learn about the jaw joint and growth and development. And I saw all these kids with bad airway problems, all these kids that weren't breathing, all these kids that would come in every 6 months. Their tonsils were huge. They weren't sleeping. They had bags under their eyes every time they come in. They're on ADB medication.
A youth?
So when was this? When was this? Like what year? What?
Okay, you're going to date me now?
No, because I'm curious about I remember as a kid, nobody talked about this.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Like, I've never even heard that children...
Yes. In fact, that's where we want to identify airway problems.
Earlier.
Is in children. It's also where we want to identify TMJ problems, because a lot of injuries to the temporomandibular joint happen during childhood and adolescence. When kids are active, when they're on the playground, bumping faces, falling off bikes.
A dodgeball to the face probably ruined a whole generation.
Exactly, yeah. Cheerleaders are probably some of my...
smacked in the face with a foot.
Or somersaulting off and landing on their chin. But yeah, so just because of learning orthodontics and pediatric dentistry, I started looking at kids with airway problems.
Yeah.
And what was really cool is, so we started expanding their arches, which makes their nasal airway larger.
Interesting.
And they could start breathing even if they didn't get the tonsillectomy, because getting ENTs to take the tonsils out on these kids was almost impossible. They're like, well, they're not touching, it's not really bad. I'm like, yeah, but the kid's not sleeping, they're on ADD medication.
Why ADD medication?
So kids are hyperactive when they don't get enough sleep. Believe it or not.
The opposite of adults.
Around.
Yes, yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, so a lot of behavior disorders, which were really blamed on this ADD thing, were really sleep deprivation. Yeah. So when kids act out, and so a lot of these kids, you get them sleeping and breathing, their whole attitude changes, their grades get better in school. And what was really neat is, obviously I've done this for a little while, so what I noticed was the kids that I was able to intervene and maybe do arch expansion, or get them over to the ENT for a tonsillectomy.
Yeah.
These kids grew up to be healthier adults than the ones that I didn't get to treat. But then I also started seeing in the adults the ones that I said, I wish you had come to me as a child. Because we could have really, prevented a lot of this.
Here's a dumb question. Can you not expand an adult?
You absolutely can.
Yeah, so you can still do it.
Absolutely can. In fact, we're using a lot of products to do that now. That used to have to be done surgically. Now we're doing like these micro perforations in the bone, and it sounds gory. It's really not. I mean,
so because of the child hasn't developed, you can expand it without breaking a bone.
It moves easier.
Right. The sutures are still not fully formed. The sutures where the bones come together. So kids, they just expand out beautifully.
Adults, you have to almost break it to expand it?
Yeah, you used to have to physically break it. Now, if we have some bone to work with, then by making little perforations, we can stimulate growth factor. And with that, we can actually get some expansion on the adults as well.
How long does that process usually take someone to get to a wider opening? Is it months,
6
years?
months.
Oh, really? That's it.
And in kids, we can do it in 6 weeks.
So you've got the sutures, but how do you expand?
So
with an appliance?
Yes, you can use
with a key.
Typically an orthodontic appliance. So like in the kids. In fact, Invisalign now has an expander where they send you a new set that's a little bit wider each time.
I didn't know Invisalign was expanding arches.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, really cool. And, they started focusing on kids, which was really exciting for me, when they came out with their Invisalign First product.
Yeah.
That was just amazing. And they actually have mandibular advancement for kids who are class 2.
Oh, bringing them into...
Right, to bring the jaw forward. Wow. So they started doing that, and then we were all saying, oh, it would be great if we could expand a little bit.
It's got to be more comfortable than some of the things I've seen where they have that box and the key, and you crank it. And
they're just thin, little, removable expanders, just a clear plastic in there.
Just like an Invisalign.
Yeah. Not as thin as an Invisalign tray, but...
Interesting.
So that's one side of your practice.
Yeah.
So are you like every other day, or do you switch weeks?
So
How do you do
I
that?
do. But I do Monday. I do general dentistry, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, I have the sleep practice. So trying to keep it at 3 days a week, but a lot of times I go in Thursday morning as well.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah. And then Wednesday nights we do our show.
I was going to say, what day do you podcast?
We do that at night. It started out during COVID. The three of us, Chad Duplantis, Jennifer Bell, and myself.
So how do you all know each other?
Well, I knew Jennifer because I was president of the AGD in South Carolina the year she was vice president of the AGD in North Carolina. We were in the same region.
Yep.
And we absolutely just hit it off, right away. And she is one of the smartest people I have ever met in my life. And so in the AGD, we were working a lot on legislation and things that really, are the not the oversight, but kind of the guiding light for dentistry. And so we would work on legislation together, and we just really hit it off. And as I said, she's just such a bright person.
You guys sitting there.
We always said we would have to do something together.
We should be recording this conversation.
Yeah. So and fast forward.
Is she a practicing dentist?
Oh gosh, yes. Okay. She's got 2 full practices, 3 kids. She's the one I don't know how she does it all. Trust me. And she's really the brains of our operation.
Yeah.
But no. So COVID happened. We were all teaching. Chad Duplantis and I were teaching for the same speakers bureau. And we got bored during COVID. We're like,
a lot of people did.
How do we stay relevant? How do we not go crazy sitting in our houses? And so I said, you know what? Let's do this. Let's bring dentists in the know. Let's see how we can keep everyone in the know.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is going to stick. And I thought, this is going to be great. Let's just have a glass of wine or a bourbon or whatever. Let's sit there on Wednesday nights. We'll
over
do
Zoom?
And
Facebook
just talk?
Live.
Facebook Live.
Yeah, it was a Facebook Live is how we
right.
started. And we said, let's just talk. Let's just nerd out and talk. And we said, well, you know what? Part of what we do in education, all education or most education usually will have some sponsorship. I mean, that's the way that education becomes affordable.
Yeah.
And it's not that they necessarily control the content. It's that the speakers actually use these products and they can speak to them very well.
Usually the speakers are passionate about that product. They find each other because they use that product.
And it's not a line saying, hey, Jeff Horowitz, can I pay you to go up and talk about Align iTero or I want you to go talk about exocad.
You're using it day in, day out.
These are people who are passionate about it to start with, and they say, you know what, you would be a great person to talk about our product. So anyway, we said, why don't we do this? And in education, we're always trying to bring those 2 parts of the dental community together, to bring the dentists together with the companies. KOLs, or key opinion leaders, we're very lucky. We get to meet all the people behind the scenes. We get to meet the CEOs and the presidents of these
We
companies.
took an Uber with the CEO of exocad this morning. I'm just saying it's an opportunity most people don't get.
Exactly. But the average dentist doesn't know anyone behind the company. They just know the company.
They don't know anybody outside of their practice usually. They're very closed.
So we said, how do we bring these 2 things together? How do we let dentists meet some of the people who are so passionate, the engineers, the CEOs, the people who are not just there to sell you something, but the people who are really passionate about these products.
The visionaries.
Which they are. So true.
So, we said, let's do this. We'll chat for a little while. We'll schmooze. We'll nerd out, and then let's interview somebody. And that's how it started.
So you guys just started talking to each other.
Yes.
And then it grew to where you brought.
And then we said, let's bring a guest in. We did that pretty quickly because that was always something we tried to do in education was, to help bring the dental community together.
There's only so much you guys can talk to each other about.
You'd be surprised.
and some of the directions it ends up in,
rabbit holes.
You never know. I mean, sometimes it gets a little edgy, but I mean, we would try to keep the F-bombs out, but
we do too. Yeah. Occasionally they come in.
Every now and then it happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, it does.
So anyway, we did a couple of episodes like that. I was like, Chad, you know who we need to bring in? We need to bring in Jennifer because she really knows organized dentistry so well. She knows the AGD, she knows the ADA, and if we're really going to be bringing people in the know,
she knows people.
Right.
She knows people.
Let's talk about what's going on with the CDC, what's going on during COVID. Let's get good information.
We did a lot of episodes during COVID
about
updates on what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
People didn't know.
Yeah. So then, Facebook, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not growing the way that it used to be, and people really were
Young
looking
people
for,
are not.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They were
That's
looking
true.
more for podcasts
Yep.
and quick blips on YouTube and reels and things. So
Yep.
we ended up, the three of us ended up bringing a couple people on to work for us that would now take our Wednesday night show and dissect it.
Yep.
Our interview always moves over to a podcast, and then, so our news segment always goes to an Insta reel.
So you evolved.
Yeah.
Were they younger people?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
They just know what the hell to
What
do
made
and
you
where
say
to
that?
go because it's
I think
just a no-brainer.
That's becoming our problem, Barb. We don't have younger people to help us do this.
because they know.
You've
and
got
that's
to.
super smart.
People are like, get on
they get you in
TikTok. I'm like, I
places.
don't know how to
we
do it.
we also, we used a little bit of forced labor too. We all have kids that are very
Yes.
knowledgeable about this. So,
Exactly.
we didn't have to pay everyone.
How
Like,
does
you
a
want to eat
podcast
this
work?"
week? You're going to make a podcast for me.
So what type of people do you interview? Mostly dentists or just
Both.
CEOs or
Educators,
Yeah.
CEOs. Anybody we can think of. I want to interview the two of you because I want more people to know about,
the
The
lab?
technical side.
Absolutely.
The
Not
lab side.
the lab side. That's the other part of the dental community. We've interviewed a lot of lab technicians.
Nice.
I love hearing
everyone
that.
needs to understand each other
Yeah.
in this profession
Yeah.
better.
We have
And
dentists on all the time because we need to understand both sides.
Yeah.
I can't talk to just technicians and we'll never get outside of our bubble. you
that's what happens. We are
Yeah.
all truly in a bubble.
know? Yeah.
So do they hit you up and say, hey, I heard about your podcast. I'd like to be a guest, or is it both ways?
It's both ways. We're all at these meetings. So usually, like at Chicago Midwinter, we have a podcast booth.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
do
we
too.
ship
I think
it.
we've seen their booth at Chicago.
At Midwinter?
Oh, no,
Yeah,
it wouldn't
yeah.
be at ours.
We don't get
Okay,
out of
gotcha.
lab day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Lab Day's pretty cool, though.
It's
yeah,
so
I've actually
cool.
gone over to that, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, that's
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
cool, too.
Yeah.
No, we have a whole booth set up. And so, like, at Midwinter, we did, like, 30 interviews or something. And it was
Yep.
just people coming by, like, hey, do you want me to talk about this? Sure, come on in. Let's
Yeah.
talk.
We
And
do it too,
sometimes
yeah.
they're a little nervous, and you
Yeah.
just have to, talk
You just
to
talk.
them, and
Yeah.
they just
And,
jam right in.
ours are all video as well, though.
Yeah.
That adds a whole new
It
level
does.
of nervousness.
It does, yeah. It was like, I don't know what to do with my hands.
We do a lot of remote recordings, people that aren't
Yeah.
with us, and I love it when people are like, I'm all dressed up, and I'm like, there's no video.
There's,
They're like,
there's no video.
I
Yeah.
told you there's no video.
But we do like doing the live shows.
Yeah.
Because when
So
we come
much
to shows
better.
like this, and you can actually interact and see people's faces
Yeah,
and their
yeah.
and the energy.
It's
we
fun.
like it a lot.
You just,
so
again,
it's-
with video, you have to have a young editor.
yeah.
Just for when that occasional F-bomb does drop.
Yeah. Yeah. So we saw you earlier. Your son.
Yes.
He's a dentist now.
No. So my oldest son, Luke, who's here with me, he is actually an artist by trade.
Wow.
Went to art school, but unbelievably, he did not like other people telling him how to do art. So ended up going up to Chicago and working in the movie industry.
Whoa.
And doing prop and artwork, background work, things like that. But the movie industry really died down in Chicago. So, it's been really slow, and he's like, I got to think of something else because, I don't want to have to sit here and wait for my next painting, to sell. And the work is not as
It's a hard life.
regular.
man.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was. It
Yeah.
very hard.
So he's turning to dentistry, or he just
So
wanted to come
it-
and experience this?
Interestingly enough, when we started getting involved with digital dentistry and exocad,
Oh.
now, so he does a lot of graphic arts. Like he actually worked for a friend of his. He made games on the computer. Like he helped his
He's
friend.
one of those.
He's one of those,
Smarts.
and so he has art. And I started thinking maybe I should talk to him about doing digital dental design.
Designs.
And
Yeah.
so I put him with Andy and Josh from Evolve.
Yes.
Yep.
Love those guys.
And we all just hit it off. And Luke's finally like, I think I found what I'm supposed to be doing because
tooth is an art.
It is.
All of the features and the way they.
So he's been coming to these meetings. He's learning the trade, and he's doing an apprenticeship with Evolution Dental Lab.
Nice.
And he's going to be doing digital design. Hopefully, a lot of mine.
Good for him.
Yeah.
So, do you have an in-office lab?
I do not. No.
So you send everything out.
So everything goes out. I mean, we have a mill, we have a print, we do have an exocad license, and so. But most
you have all that, but you don't use it?
Oh, yeah, we use it.
Okay.
But most of the design, I'm working back and forth with Josh because he's so much faster at it. I need to see patients.
You can't exactly.
Smart man.
Chair time.
And this is the piece I don't get. I mean, technology is great, but when dentists start taking patient time away from themselves. It's great if it's your hobby and you love it and you're fine with the number of patients that you're seeing. Go for it.
Yeah.
I love it. But, you know, our lab partners are so much more efficient at doing these things.
Yeah.
You know, if I can see a few more patients, and especially on the TMJ and sleep side, there's more patients than we know what to do with. So if I can really be treating them and not worrying about, you know, the design that I made on this TMJ splint, I could say, Josh, here's what I need on this.
Yep.
You know, I need
done.
taller cusps. And it's done,
Yeah.
where that would have been like a 45-minute episode for me.
Well, it's good that you figured that out. You need to keep teaching that because a lot of dentists, I think that they want to, but they don't have the time.
Yeah.
And you need to realize it earlier rather than later.
Time is our most important commodity in the dental office.
Yeah.
And taking patient time away, you know, taking a $1,000 crown or $1,500 crown away, you know, to save $30 on printing something. I mean, it's like
it doesn't make any logical financial sense at all.
So you send out designs, but do all the manufacturing?
Not all the manufacturing.
Oh,
no. And then we use a lot of materials that I can't manufacture. So I use a lot of acetyl resin for our TMJ splints. We make something at. Originally, it was a Snap-on Smile.
Yeah.
You're lab people. I can nerd out about
totally.
this. It was
I know all about
diacetyl
this.
resin.
Yeah, acetyl. We do partials in acetyl.
Yes.
So,
yeah. So we were using those as TMJ splints because it kind of looks like teeth.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Snap-on Smile. So that's how we would reset bites. Is in.
Patients wore those all day.
Yes, and they can eat in them.
They're a bitch, though.
Yes, they can eat in them. I mean, think about what Snap-on Smile was used for. I mean, it was for people who wanted to go to their reunion and
just snap it
real
off.
quick and pop it in. But these things had such great retention. I'm like, well, heck, we could put these in as a temporary splint.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. The problem with it is it has to be milled. It's a pretty...
It's a hefty mill.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it's a
so
hard thing.
Yeah,
it's hard material.
Let my lab do that.
You want to buy a $120,000 mill for it?
No.
Go through 6 burrs just to do one?
Yeah, and you know, it's so much to do something like that. And for a TMJ case, I mean, we're gonna end up charging, you know, for the TMJ case, like, you know, $3,500.
Yeah.
So I can pay the lab for my splint and have it go right into place
and just be done with it.
And be done with
it.
Right. You know, otherwise I'm hiring another assistant to run the machines and you know, we don't need to be in all those businesses. We don't need to be all things.
Yeah.
So, what about the sleep part of it?
So the sleep part of the practice, all of those are made in lab.
Because that,
really?
That's all.
That's
I wouldn't
all
be messing around with that.
Except
that's big time.
We will make
compliance.
temporary appliances in office, but those have to be FDA cleared.
Yeah.
Even the ones you make?
What's that?
No,
if it's a temporary.
The sleep appliance.
But the sleep appliances
have to be FDA.
Yeah,
but I'm wondering about the ones you make in the office. FDA doesn't have to follow that.
No, I'm just using that as a temporary
ADA.
appliance. So, you know, you can use even some of the over-the-counter things. But some people come in that are so severe that I don't want to let them leave the office that day without something.
Wow.
It's amazing. Some of the patients we get, they come in, and their oxygen levels dropping like into the 50s and 60s, and literally
they can't even stay awake there.
No. I mean, a patient, you know, a passed out patient from a cardiac arrest, it takes them a long time to get to that level, you know, to those oxygen levels.
Wow.
And these people are getting down, you know, in the 50s, 60s, 70s every night, and they're staying there for sometimes, you know, 20, 30% of the night. It's like, Life
is that
is
what
not
ends up killing them?
Yes.
Is the oxygen
Yeah,
depletion?
yeah.
And then what? You put the
Exactly.
device in it instantly changes? Or?
So it improves. We don't eliminate it. So even CPAP doesn't eliminate apnea.
Yeah.
And the thing that people don't get about apnea is they think that it is you have to physically stop breathing to have apnea. And that's what apnea means, is a complete stoppage of breathing.
How many episodes
but
you have,
there are two different kinds of events that define apnea. One is an apneic event, which is a 100% blockage of the airway. But hypopneas or partial apneas, where the airway just gets smaller and you just can't physically get enough air going through there. And those people, they'll come in and they'll say, well, no one's ever said I stop breathing. Well, you don't have to stop breathing to have sleep apnea.
Okay,
so
that makes a lot of sense.
It's why for a long time we only had about 10% of the population that was diagnosed.
Yeah.
And now what?
And now it's probably closer to 15 or 20, but it's still lousy. Because
so
we're only
how do
looking
you
for
figure out you
fat
have
people.
it?
Sleep test.
Well, the main thing is if you're tired during the day. The most common symptoms are daytime fatigue, snoring, because snoring is just vibration of the tissues in the back of the airway when the airway gets too small. And believe it or not, gastroesophageal reflux is another big one. Yeah, high blood pressure, another one. Of the patients with high blood pressure, a very, very large percentage of them are going to test positive for sleep apnea, and it's the underlying factor. Because every time you have an event, it kicks in the fight or flight response, blood pressure goes up, heart rate goes up, and this is happening multiple times during the night.
So do you diagnose by doing a sleep, like having the patient go home with some sort of appliance that reads them during the night?
As dentists, we cannot diagnose sleep apnea. The diagnosis has to come from a board-certified sleep physician after a sleep study, whether it be a home sleep study or an in-lab. Okay. So it can be either one. It doesn't matter, but it has to be read by a board-certified sleep physician. What we do as dentists, we can spot bad airways. I mean, we're looking in the mouth all day long.
You're right there. Yeah.
Right. And then based on their medical history, so someone with high blood pressure and gastroesophageal reflux, it's already going through our minds.
So you're sending them.
So the first thing we will typically do, if it's questionable, we might send them with overnight pulse oximeter. It's very cheap. It's something we can do. Some docs will charge like $10 for the patient to do it. It's like a $300 investment for a pulse oximeter.
Yeah.
You don't pay in most cases, you don't have to pay for each individual test.
Yeah.
We give them away. We're like, listen, I'm just worried about this before we start sending you and making you nervous. Let's just see what your oxygen levels are doing.
Smart.
So if they come back positive, then we refer them for the
step.
sleep study or for either in lab or
and then
or
they
a home
come
sleep
back
test.
and
Right.
you treat them with the appliance.
Right.
Okay.
What are the good labs you use for appliances?
So a couple of them. We use Panthera.
Love Panthera.
Yeah,
they're leaders in this.
Yeah, they are, and they make the DSOT is just a great appliance. We use ProSomnus as well. Like them very much, and also there's Respire appliances, which
I've heard the name.
Yeah, Respire appliances, and they were just bought out recently.
Sure.
So Dynaflex, I think, ended up buying them.
Nice.
Wow. So I mean, it's not a one size fits all. So every appliance is not for every patient. So you really have to be kind of choosy, but. It's really more about getting the patients diagnosed and getting them into the right position. That's the art of it.
And then they come back and they give you a big hug.
Oh my gosh!
Say thank you for freaking.
It's really a
making
fulfilling.
Me feel so much
better.
Well,
and
sure.
That's the thing I love about the TMJ sleep practice is pretty much all I do is make people better.
Yeah.
And
that's got to be so
and in
fulfilling.
dentistry, people are like, wow, that's the best filling I've ever had. Thank you for that composite. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a huge emotional connection from that.
That class 5 is just the neatest thing I've ever seen. Yeah.
Never gonna hear that.
Never. So no, it's really it's a nice way to practice.
You ever see those patients that you can't fix? Like, you put them in an appliance and it just doesn't work. And you
some TMJ patients are surgical patients. So
what about sleep? Is there any ones that
in sleep apnea there are some that will not succeed with appliance therapy.
Really?
Yeah. So
what's the next step?
So next step with them is either making them get a CPAP.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not fun, but
no.
That's the thing that you put around it.
Right. It's forced air, basically.
Yeah.
So CPAP in the difference between oral appliance therapy and CPAP is what we're doing is passive. We're just making the airway bigger, and it's still their responsibility to do the breathing.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
The CPAP is physically forcing the air in. So there's something called central sleep apnea as opposed to obstructive, where the patient just basically forgets to breathe.
Yeah.
So the message just isn't getting from the brain to the muscles of respiration that they're supposed to be breathing, and those people have to be on CPAP. Because an oral appliance will never work.
Gotcha.
There's some surgical things that can be done to make the airway bigger, too. It could be soft tissue surgeries, which are typically not as successful, but there are orthognathics procedures that can be done where they physically move the bones forward, and that
videos of that.
That can make that has almost a 90% success rate.
Does it really?
But it's a big surgery.
Yeah.
But there's also lifestyle change, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're up till 3 a.m. drinking and then you fall asleep and wake up at 6 a.m. to go to work, you're not going to sleep too good.
No.
So
We talk to people about sleep habits and sleeping with blue light is the worst. So people who have the TV on in the background.
Blue light is the worst.
Yeah.
I've heard that, or gaming before on your phone.
So
looking at your phone,
put all that stuff down.
We make our own melatonin. And the way we do that is from darkness. It's a natural response.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant you're in your lab mixing
No.
melatonin. I was like, what are you doing?
I saw the look on your face, and I was like, I don't think he's...
That's my 50th hat that I'm wearing. Yeah.
The little mortal. You're sitting there grinding up.
Jeff's Dental and Apothecary. No, it's
we produce our own.
Yeah, why not? We do. And it's darkness that stimulates that response. So if we're not in darkness, we don't make melatonin, and it's harder for us to fall asleep and stay asleep.
Awesome.
But that's the other thing we hear a lot is patients say, I don't sleep well. And we have to ask the question, is it difficulty falling asleep or is it difficulty staying asleep?
Oh.
Because, when we think of difficulty falling asleep, we're thinking more insomnia.
Yep.
And if it's staying asleep, typically that's going to be apnea.
Because you wake it wakes you
Right,
up.
right. There's an autonomic response that, we get this rush of adrenaline and we get pulled from deeper sleep into lighter sleep or completely wake up.
Yeah.
But it's very often misdiagnosed by physicians as insomnia, and they're given medicines that make the apnea worse in a lot of cases.
Because it relaxes everything and it just makes things worse.
Some will use muscle relaxants to make the patient sleep.
I can see where that would make it worse.
And
or deadly.
Yes, it can be.
Yeah.
So, but we're trying to get the word out there about sleep apnea, and honestly, airway and sleep. It's definitely getting its due now.
Yeah.
For a long time, I felt like, why is this falling on deaf ears? But no, I think it's really a lot of people have become aware of it. A lot of people are teaching it now, and I'm just glad more people are aware.
That's why I love this podcast, because you could have 500 listeners and reach 5 of them or 2 of them or even 1 of them that goes and gets help.
Yeah.
And then has a better life.
Just you never know who you're going to touch, right? At any lecture, at any podcast, anything, even just a post sometimes on your personal Facebook page where you say something.
Yeah.
You never know who you're going to touch.
Yeah. I love that.
Just because I snore doesn't mean I have sleep apnea, right?
So you want the percentage?
Yes, I do.
Okay. 70% likelihood that you have apnea if you're snoring.
Oh.
Yes. Just by snoring on a regular basis, 70% likelihood of having sleep apnea.
So
I'm
my
tired all
boyfriend
the
probably
time.
has it too.
When I fall
and my
asleep
sister.
First,
my sister.
Get in touch.
Sure.
I'll send you a pulse oximeter or go.
That's
we
cool.
actually work with a sleep physician. And it makes the system easier to navigate for patients. So if they come in and they need a sleep study, there are two ways we can go about it. We could get in touch with their physician, have their physician order the sleep study.
Oh, that's
their physician,
6
when
months
they
later.
get the order, and they can get them in 3 to 6 months later. Then they send them to the sleep lab. Then they wait for the result from the sleep lab. And so we were losing a lot of patients that way just because of time. So we started working with a group called sleeptest.com. And there are several of these organizations where it's a board-certified sleep physician, but I have a portal where I can enter my patient that needs a sleep study. The sleep physician will then contact the patient, do a telehealth, send them the home sleep test unit, and this happens like within 2 weeks. It's done.
Wow.
Nice. They do the telehealth,
so much better.
Do the sleep study. The sleep study comes right back to me with the order for a sleep appliance. So
seen by a board certified,
because the diagnosis.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. So it works out really well, and you know, we're not trying to cut their primary care out of the loop. We're sending all the reports and studies over to their primary care physician. We just said, you know, we just wanted this to be as efficient as possible, so we're including you on this, and we're going to keep you aware of their progression.
That's cool.
Yeah, love it.
You get bored when you have to do a fill-in? Or anything else?
So I always say this.
Hey, we need you to work on a denture.
I still do general dentistry. 1 day a week I do general dentistry. Most of it though is so after we do a TMJ case and we reposition a bite, I'm either going to finish them orthodontically or I'm going to finish them restoratively with prosthetics.
Nice.
Right. So I'm usually doing those cases.
That makes a lot
a nice
of sense.
bookend to the whole treatment.
Which is fun, right?
Yeah.
But when I have to do a couple of fillings, I'm like, I
don't really like this anymore.
And don't get me wrong, I like dentistry, but if I never do another Class 2 composite,
that would be okay.
I'd be okay with it. I really would. Yeah.
So what are you doing at IDS? Are you looking for the next big sleep thing?
The newest in technology all around, because again, what we try to do in Dentists in the Know is bring people in the know,
So you need to know.
Yeah,
if you don't know, how can you bring it?
There you go. And that's what I love about teaching, is that, the gut check before you get behind the podium is, do I really know this well enough to be teaching someone else? So it forces you to be a great student first.
Yeah.
And, because people know.
They know when you don't know.
They know when you don't know.
And that's a very profound statement.
Yeah. And so
do you think people know we don't know?
No, I think for him to recognize that he's got to be a student.
Yes.
And that he's got to keep growing to be able to teach.
Yeah. And that's what happens here. I'll sit. In fact, I said GC had they were doing a little presentation there of injection molding around a titanium framework for an implant framework. Yeah. They were doing a composite injection molding. And I just sat, I'm like, this is great for me to watch this happen from lab technician's perspective.
Yeah.
And so my son, who is getting into digital design, he's kind of seeing the whole process, and he's like, wow, this kind of reminds me of oil painting with the layers and everything. And he's like,
connecting all the dots.
And it's just, you have moments like that.
Yeah.
But the other thing that happens at these meetings is you never know who you're going to be sitting next to. You never know who you're going to meet.
It's the in-the-hall conversation.
Yes. And I made this connection with it was a dentist from Bulgaria. We were actually at we were at Modja. We were watching a presentation over there. And we started talking, and I asked a question. He goes, oh, my God, I was going to ask the same question. And you make these kinds of connections, and you start talking about what you're doing in practice, and you learn something from every person you meet, right?
Yeah.
Like every single person, you pick up a little tidbit.
When does his episode come out? We know how that works.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, I just met you. You want to do on a podcast?
You want to do one of these? Yeah, content, baby.
Yeah,
content.
You know it.
I'm a for content. Oh, sorry. Well, thank you so
thank
much.
you.
Oh, my gosh. This was such a
great.
blast. Yeah, we got to do this more often. You guys are coming on Dentists in the Know for sure.
Would love
do
to.
It.
And because I really want to hear about this foundation.
Big into the foundation.
We do the race. We raise money every year. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
Foundation. It's unbelievable.
I mean, it's just how do we lift up our industry?
Yep.
And because, we're not very required to have CDTs. No one is really required to have a certification to do what we do. Some states do, but most of us...
Because I remember in South Carolina, there used to actually be a program at MUSC, and then they discontinued
And then they go like...
There's like 6 schools left. I don't know the exact number, but...
it's disappointing to say the least.
So that we're just trying to
we're passionate about that.
Raise that awareness and get people excited to take their
and give them money and give them grants and give them scholarships so that if they can't afford it, they apply and they're able to do this education.
But we'll talk about it in the know.
Yeah.
Our people know all about it.
Okay.
You're already in the know about that. We're going to bring our people in the know.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Well, guys, thank you for having me. It was so nice.
Horowitz.
You did better the first time, but that was good.
It took me,
Thank you so much.
That
Look forward to talking to you guys.
Take care.
So a huge thanks to John and for Dr. Horowitz for coming on our podcast at the exocad booth at IDS 2025. And I swear to God, I'm not sucking up when I say the positive changes John is making to me, my group, Night Dental, and all our labs at Leixir. It's absolutely amazing. It's kind of pretty cool how one person in leadership can affect so many people. We are happy to have you in our industry as long as you understand that there's no chance of escape and you will fit right in. You actually do fit right in. Year and a half, I think he got fully loaded, and I think in 2 months. So he's doing good. It was also super cool talking with Dr. Jeff Horowitz and getting to learn a lot about the sleep, dentistry, and palate expansion, which I didn't know much about. As technicians, we might not see it often, but it's important for us to understand that it is an option for treatment. So go check out his podcast, Dentist in the Know, anywhere you find it. Anywhere we are, anywhere they are. They're all over the place.
All over the place, yep.
And thank you both.
Absolutely. And all right, everybody, that's all we got for you, and we will talk to you next week.
Have a good one, and happy 4th of July for all of you that are not listening to us on Friday, but Monday.
And to those in America. Bye.
See ya.
I don't know. It's like 5 o'clock on 4th of July. I'm like, maybe she's barbecuing alligator or whatever you people do down there. The views and opinions expressed on the Voices from the Bench podcast are those of the guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the host or Voices from the Bench, LLC.